Morning, everybody. So for my experiment, I wanted to study false memories and emotional state. So to be more specific, I wanted to figure out if different emotional states could impact how accurate our memories are. So if it was a really happy event, if that would be remembered more than, say, a really sad event or vice versa. So some of the research I found was here, Storbeck and Clore in 2005. So they asked whether positive or negative moods would lead to false memories. And in two separate experiments, they found that participants in the negative mood category were less likely to display false memories than those in the positive mood category. And then Porter, Taylor, and Tenbrick in 2008 asked if the emotional content of an event can make a person more likely to misremember the event. So what they did was question participants on 20 highly publicized events, though half of those events were fictitious. And what they found were memories for negative events were more detailed and more accurate over the positive events. And even though 95% of the participants remembered a false event, overall the negative events were produced more accurate, more detailed memories. So then that brings us to Mons, Patterson, and Kemp in 2017. So what these researchers wanted to study was the relationship between the DRM paradigm and the misinformation effect. To be specific, they wanted to test both of these against what's called the paradoxical negative emotion hypothesis, or the P&E hypothesis. This states that negative stimuli lead to more accurate and detailed memories, but increase risk for memory distortion. So they found that the misinformation effect supported the P&E hypothesis, but the DRM paradigm did not. Excuse me. Which is what I was interested in. They found that the DRM paradigm, when tested that way, participants in the negative category, their memories were accurate, their memories were detailed, and their memories weren't as distorted as compared to the misinformation effect. So this brings me to my experiment and what I did. So I attempted to see if different types of emotional states would produce more accurate memories. And to be specific, I wanted to test whether different negative emotional states, there'd be one that could be remembered over the other. So like you had like a sad event, a scary event, just like a disgusting event, if one of those would produce more accurate or inaccurate memories versus the others. So my hypothesis was that scary events that induce that fear response in our brain, would produce the most accurate memories. So for my method, I got, I think 9 of you guys to respond to my experiment. And in the experiment, it was a simple, presented you set of word lists and recognition tests. So each of the word lists was like, first list was what I called the sad word list. All the words on the list were semantically related to the words sorrow and depression. And on the recognition test for that list, it was a mix of words that had been on the word list previous, words that were related to sorrow and depression but hadn't been shown to you, and then the critical words themselves, sorrow and depression, which also had not been presented on the list. And then for the scary category, which was the second set of word lists, I presented you the set of words that were semantically related with two words, war and terror. And then on the recognition test, it was a list of words you had seen, a list of words that were related to those two critical words which you hadn't seen, and then two critical words themselves that you had not seen. So on to the results. So what I ran was a repeated measure ANOVA just on the critical words themselves, and found significant results comparing the two. The difference between means was deemed to be significant. So then I ran an individual independent samples t-test for each of the categories and also produced significant results, which led me to conclude, or the results gave me the impression that the critical words in the scary category produced the most accurate response when you scale them 1 to 10. Those words were the most accurately remembered than those in the sad category. So onto what this all means. So like I said, these results were consistent with my hypothesis, but I do think more research is needed. And that's primarily because of some of my main issues or sources of possible error I figured with this experiment. Primarily, I would say those are due to like my own like cause. This is me personally. I don't really have a lot of experience with this type of research and these type of tests, so this was all kind of new to me. And I was sick for a little while, so I kind of had to rush at the end to get my experiment out to you guys. I think I was like a day late. So I think with a little bit more time, I could have, and a little bit more preparation, I could have done a better job here. And also, like, this experiment was like the third or fourth version. Or initially, I wanted to test like positive versus negative emotional states, and I wanted to had a whole idea to do something to induce emotional states and separate you guys into categories, but it seemed to get really convoluted and complicated. And after talking to Andrew, I decided to narrow my focus down to just the negative emotions. And another source of error could just be lack of like accountability for participants, because this is all online. So, you know, maybe you went through the word list and did the recognition test without looking at them. Maybe you didn't. There's no way to really tell. So I think more research is definitely needed because it's a very interesting topic, I think. And I think for implications for society in general, the main thing I could see here is just eyewitness accounts. Like, they would know like what type of events could produce the most accurate type of responses from like eyewitnesses. So that's one of the main implications I could think of for this. Honestly, I just thought the whole thing was interesting, so I just kind of wanted to try it out. But yeah, that was my experiment, and these are my sources. And thank you guys for your time.